Clint Eastwood checked into a hotel when the desk clerk stopped him. "Sir, I should inform you this is a luxury property. Our standard rooms are quite expensive." When Clint asked how expensive, and what was revealed on the clerk's computer left 15 people in the lobby speechless. It was a Thursday afternoon in June 2020, and Clint Eastwood had driven from Carmel to Los Angeles for a series of meetings about his next film project. The meetings would take 2 days, so he'd booked a room at the Meridian Grand, a boutique luxury hotel in Beverly Hills that he'd stayed at dozens of times over the past 20 years. Clint had made the reservation online under his own name the previous week, a standard room for 2 nights, nothing fancy. He didn't need a suite. He just needed a clean, quiet place to sleep between meetings. He arrived at the Meridian Grand around 4 p.m. driving his pickup truck, wearing jeans and a casual button-down shirt. At 90 years old, Clint had long ago stopped caring about making impressions. He dressed for comfort and functionality, not for appearances. The Meridian Grand was an elegant hotel designed to look like a European manor house. The lobby was all marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and velvet furniture. It attracted entertainment industry executives, international business people, and wealthy tourists who wanted luxury without the massive scale of larger hotels. Behind the front desk stood Ashley Reynolds, 26 years old, who'd been working at the Meridian Grand for 8 months. She'd come to Los Angeles to break into the entertainment industry as an actress, but was paying bills working hotel reception while she auditioned. She'd learned quickly that the Meridian Grand catered to a specific clientele, people with money who expected exceptional service. Part of her job, as her manager had explained, was to manage guest expectations, which sometimes meant tactfully steering people who couldn't afford the hotel toward more budget-friendly options. When Clint walked through the doors in his casual clothes, Ashley made an instant assessment. Elderly gentleman, simple clothing, no designer labels, probably someone's grandfather picking up a guest, or maybe confused about which hotel he needed. Clint approached the desk with his driver's license and credit card in hand. "Checking in. Reservation under Eastwood." Ashley smiled politely and typed the name into the computer. She saw the reservation, 2 nights. Standard room, checking in today. But before processing it, she looked at Clint again and made a decision that would change her afternoon dramatically. "Mr. Eastwood," she said with careful politeness, "before we proceed with check-in, I should inform you that this is a luxury property. Our standard rooms are quite expensive. I want to make sure you're aware of the rates before we finalize anything." Clint looked at her with mild surprise. "I made a reservation. The rate was listed when I booked." "Yes, I see that," Ashley said, trying to sound helpful rather than condescending, though she wasn't entirely succeeding. "But sometimes our online booking can be confusing, and people don't realize the actual cost until they arrive. Our standard rooms start at $450 per night, and that doesn't include taxes or fees. I just want to ensure there are no surprises." In the lobby, several other guests were scattered around. Some sitting in the velvet chairs waiting for transportation, others checking their phones near the concierge desk, a few standing near the elevator. About 15 people total. Most of them weren't paying attention to the conversation at the front desk. Yet. Clint set his license and credit card on the counter. "I understand the rate. I'd like to check in, please." Ashley hesitated. She looked at Clint's casual clothes again, at the driver's license that showed a Carmel address, and made an assumption. Maybe this was a gift for someone. Maybe someone else had made the reservation for him. Maybe he didn't actually realize how expensive 2 nights would be. "Sir, I'm just trying to be transparent. With taxes and fees, your 2-night stay will be over $1,000. Are you certain you want to proceed? There are some excellent hotels nearby that might offer better value." The conversation was happening in normal speaking tones, but Ashley's voice had that careful slow cadence people use when they think they're talking to someone who doesn't understand. That tone carried, and people in the lobby started to notice. Clint's expression didn't change, but there was something in his eyes. Amusement mixed with curiosity about where this was going. How expensive would the other hotels be? Well, there's a Holiday Inn about 2 miles from here that's very nice, much more affordable. Probably around $150 per night. That might be a better fit. A man sitting in one of the lobby chairs looked up from his phone. A woman waiting for the elevator turned to watch. The conversation at the front desk was becoming a spectacle. What makes you think I need a better fit? Clint asked, his tone still calm. Ashley realized she was in dangerous territory, but she'd committed to this path. I'm just trying to help, sir. This hotel caters to a specific clientele and I want to make sure you're comfortable with the pricing structure. We've had situations before where guests are surprised by the cost and it creates uncomfortable situations at checkout. You think I can't afford to stay here? Clint said. It wasn't a question. Ashley's face flushed. I didn't say that. I'm just making sure you're informed about our rates. Because of how I'm dressed. Sir, I'm not making any judgments. I'm simply doing my job by ensuring guests understand what they're paying for. More people in the lobby were watching now. The concierge had stopped what he was doing. A couple who just walked in from the parking garage had paused near the entrance. The audience was growing. Clint pulled his credit card slightly closer on the counter. Check me in, please. I understand the rates, I can afford the stay, and I have a reservation. Ashley looked at the computer screen, then back at Clint. She made one more attempt. Mr. Eastwood, I really think check me in. The lobby was getting very quiet now. People weren't even pretending not to listen anymore. Ashley, her hands slightly shaking, began the check-in process. She picked up Clint's driver's license to enter his information into the system. She typed Clint Eastwood into the guest information field and pressed enter. What happened next would be replayed in her mind for years. The computer screen lit up with account information that made Ashley's face go from pink to white in an instant. Clint Eastwood wasn't just a guest with a reservation. According to the screen, he was listed as VIP Gold Elite member since 2001. Total lifetime stays, 127 nights. Preferred guest rate program participant. Special notes, hotel ownership group investor. Notify GM immediately upon check-in. Ashley stared at the screen. Her hand stopped moving. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. From the back office, the general manager, David Chen, had been reviewing some paperwork. His computer was linked to the front desk system, and he'd set up automatic notifications for certain guest arrivals. When Clint Eastwood was entered into the system, an alert popped up on his screen with a distinctive chime. David looked at the notification, saw that Clint was checking in, and immediately looked at the security camera feed for the front desk. He saw Ashley frozen at her computer, saw Clint waiting patiently, and saw about 15 people in the lobby all watching the scene. David knew Clint had been an investor in the hotel ownership group for nearly 2 decades. He knew Clint stayed there regularly when he was in Los Angeles. He also knew from the body language on the camera feed that something had gone wrong. David practically ran from his office to the front desk. Mr. Eastwood, David said as he arrived, slightly out of breath. Welcome back. I didn't know you were checking in today or I would have been here to greet you personally. The lobby was now completely silent. All 15 people were watching openly. No one was even pretending to do anything else. Clint gestured toward Ashley, who was still frozen, staring at her computer screen. Your desk clerk was concerned I might not be able to afford to stay here. David's face went through the same color transformation Ashley's had. I'm sorry, what? She suggested the Holiday Inn might be a better fit. More in my price range. David turned slowly to look at Ashley, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the marble floor. Ashley, David said, his voice very controlled. Did you suggest that Mr. Eastwood, one of our most valued guests and an investor in this hotel, should stay at a Holiday Inn? Ashley couldn't form words. She just stood there, her face now completely red, holding Clint's driver's license like it was evidence of a crime she'd just committed. Clint spoke before David could continue. She was doing what she thought was her job, managing guest expectations, making sure people understand what they're getting into financially before committing to a stay. By judging guests based on their appearance, David said quietly. It wasn't a question. By judging me based on my appearance, Clint corrected. David took a breath and addressed the lobby, which was still frozen in place, everyone watching this unfold. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that you had to witness this. What happened here represents a failure of our training and our values. Every guest who walks through our doors deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of how they're dressed or what assumptions we might make about them. He turned back to Ashley. Please step away from the desk. We'll discuss this in my office. Ashley, tears now forming, stepped back. Another desk clerk who'd been watching in horror from the back office quickly came forward to take over, but Clint held up a hand. David, I don't think that's necessary. Mr. Eastwood, what she did was based on assumptions, yes. But she's young. She's probably been trained to protect the hotel from awkward situations with guests who can't pay, and she made a mistake. She didn't do it with malice. She did it with misguided helpfulness. Clint looked at Ashley directly. You assumed I couldn't afford to stay here because I'm an old man dressed casually driving an old truck. You made a judgment based on external factors that told you nothing about who I am or what I can afford. That's a mistake. But it's a correctable mistake if you learn from it. Ashley was openly crying now. Mr. Eastwood, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you, and I just thought you thought I looked poor. Say it. Hey. Yes. I thought you couldn't afford it. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize for thinking it. Apologize for acting on it. Everyone makes assumptions. The question is whether you let those assumptions determine how you treat people. David was watching this carefully, trying to gauge what Clint wanted him to do. Clint continued. You told me about Holiday Inns and better fits and price ranges because you judged my worth by my clothes. Learn from this. Every person who walks through those doors deserves the same professional courtesy, whether they're wearing a suit or jeans, whether they drive a Ferrari or a pickup truck, whether you think they're rich or think they're poor. He picked up his credit card and license. Now, I've had a long drive. I'm tired, and I'd like to check into my room. Can someone please complete this process? The other desk clerk quickly finished the check-in, printed out a key card, and handed it to Clint with shaking hands. Room 412, Mr. Eastwood. Top floor, corner room, as you prefer. Thank you. Clint picked up his small overnight bag, which Ashley now noticed for the first time, was actually an expensive leather piece that she'd somehow overlooked, and headed toward the elevator. The lobby remained silent until the elevator doors closed, then slowly conversation resumed, but everyone was talking about what they'd just witnessed. David took Ashley to his office. She expected to be fired. Instead, David had a long conversation with her about implicit bias, about judging people by appearance, about the difference between managing expectations and discrimination. You're not fired, David said finally, but you're on probation, and you're going to undergo additional training. What happened today is inexcusable, but Mr. Eastwood is right. It's correctable if you learn from it. Ashley did learn from it. She worked at the Meridian Grand for 2 more years before finally landing an acting role that launched her career. But she never forgot the day she told Clint Eastwood he couldn't afford to stay at a hotel he partially owned. She tells the story now in interviews, not as a funny anecdote about meeting a celebrity, but as a lesson about implicit bias and the danger of judging people by surface-level observations. I looked at an elderly man in casual clothes and decided he was poor, Ashley said in a podcast interview years later. I didn't see Clint Eastwood, the legend. I saw an old man I could categorize and dismiss. He could have had me fired. Instead, he gave me a lesson I'll carry for the rest of my life. Every person deserves respect, regardless of what you assume about them based on how they look. The 15 people who witnessed that confrontation, several of them posted about it on social media. The story spread. The Meridian Grand became known as the hotel where Clint Eastwood taught a master class in grace under condescension. And David Chin instituted new training for all staff. If Clint Eastwood can be judged as too poor for this hotel based on his clothes, then our judgment system is broken. We serve people, not outfits. Clint stayed at the Meridian Grand for his 2 nights, attended his meetings, and checked out without incident. He stayed there many times since. Ashley's no longer at the front desk, but when she sees him in the lobby on his way to check in, she always nods. With respect. He always nods back. Because he taught her something more valuable than any acting class. The cost of judging people by appearance is far higher than any hotel rate. If this story of assumptions meeting reality, of grace in the face of condescension, and of teaching moments that change careers moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with anyone in hospitality, anyone who's been judged by how they dress, or anyone who needs to learn that respect isn't reserved for people who look wealthy. Have you ever been judged as not belonging somewhere based on your appearance? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about dignity over judgment.